The scripture readings this weekend bring us stories about seeing in a new way. God helps us look beyond what is on the outside. These readings remind us that God sees people differently than we do. He looks deeper and knows what really matters. In the first reading, David is chosen to be king, even though he is the youngest and the smallest. Everyone thought his elder brothers would be picked. But God shows that he sees things that others miss. The gospel also tells about seeing. Jesus heals a man born blind. This healing helps him believe in Jesus. These readings fit well with Lent. Lent is a time to grow closer to God and to let go of things that keep us in the dark. We are invited to open our eyes and trust God to lead us. His ways are full of mercy and light. And we are free to proclaim the light. We are free to worship God, to live freely and to declare publicly that we are Christian, if we choose to. Unfortunately, there are still many areas of the world where our fellow Christians are not so lucky, not so privileged. There are over 60 countries where being known to be a Christian will lead to discrimination, injustice, violence, or even death. The vast majority of religious intolerance and discrimination in the world is targeted against Christians, something like 80%. And persecution often goes hand in hand with lack of food, water, shelter, all the basic needs of human existence. I represent Aid to the Church in Need, and we're trying to help in such communities around the world. We're a registered UK Catholic charity working directly under the Pope, helping Christians who are persecuted, oppressed or in pastoral need in more than 140 countries. I'll give a couple of examples of our work. For example, we're supporting Christians in the Holy Land. Bishop William Shamali of Jerusalem told us, "Ours is a heartbreaking situation. The need for support is critical." When the violence broke out in Gaza, hundreds of Christian migrant workers on the Gaza border fled into Jerusalem. The church opened convents and hostels to house them. Aid to the Church in Need funded their accommodation and their medical care. But the Christians already living in Jerusalem were also on the breadline. Many lost their livelihoods when the pilgrims stopped coming and supporting their hotels, their restaurants and their shops. Roni Tabash, an olive wood shopkeeper in Bethlehem, said, "The only thing that sustains me is my Christian faith. Without faith, I couldn't continue." The table at the back of the church, I have some olive wood products from the Holy Land, which are providing workers like Roni with some income these days. Aid to the Church in Need is also helping Christians in Pakistan. 3 years on from an atrocity described as the worst outbreak of violence against Christians in Pakistan's history, the local bishop, Bishop Indrias Remat, said that Christians in the Punjab's Jaranwala district want to shout and scream in outrage at the damage done to 26 churches, 80 Christian homes, church halls, priests' houses, and even Christian gravestones. But he stressed the reasons for hope, thanking Aid to the Church in Need for providing emergency relief for Jaranwala victims, including food parcels, household items and repair of buildings. He said, "I'm very grateful that Aid to the Church in Need is willing to stand with our people whenever there is a need. Your moral support, your prayers and sacrifices are tremendous. Aid to the Church in Need is a great support for us." And one of the biggest campaigns of last year was fighting the violence and murder of Christians in Nigeria. In places like Yelawata in Benue State. This town, which is up to 98% Christian, saw one of the deadliest offensives by Islamist militants, where hundreds in the region have been killed and thousands forced to flee. Islamist militants carried out a massacre in Yelawata, with church reports now confirming that 271 people died in the attacks on just one night in June, when people were macheted, shot dead, and burned alive. These are extreme and inexcusable examples of man's inhumanity to man. And there are countless other examples of areas where our brothers and sisters are in dire need, not just due to intolerance and violence, but also poverty and natural disasters, which is where your support comes in. I'm aware that aid to the church in need requires no introduction to many of you in the parish. Since I was last here for aid to the church in need in June 2018, you've been incredibly generous in your support, helping our Christian brothers and sisters around the world. You have helped us in Christian communities in Nigeria, Syria, Iraq and Gaza, as well as Haiti, Ukraine, Mozambique, and many more countries around the world, providing funding and practical assistance to house and feed those in need, supporting the church in its mission, bringing hope and solidarity to millions of people. So thank you. And thank you to Father John and Father Paul for letting me come to talk to you today and for giving me permission to have a collection on the way out of Mass. It's a privilege to be able to talk about the work of aid to the church in need, and to thank you all for the support that the parish has given over the years. On behalf of all the Christians who've been benefited from your support, thank you. Thanks to you, we're able to support more than 5,000 projects each year, simply helping the church's mission. From helping to fund the training of seminarians for the priesthood, providing food and shelter to Christians who've had to flee war and persecution, to providing transport to help priests and sisters reach the remotest communities, or building much-needed chapels. You are helping us to bring Christ to the faithful around the world, helping Christians who are persecuted, oppressed, or in pastoral need. I'd like to finish, if I may, with 3 requests. I think the need for financial support for our work is clear, and I would ask you to show solidarity with fellow Christians by giving whatever you are able to. Secondly, I would ask you to remember persecuted Christians in your prayers regularly, to pray for the work of aid to the church in need and the other agencies who are seeking to support them. And finally, if you're able to find the time to find out a little bit more about the situation and our work, supporting the Catholic faithful and other Christians where they're persecuted, oppressed or in need. The envelopes, which I hope you found on the end of the pews at the beginning of Mass, can be put into the collection. Please give whatever you can, cash or by using one of the card readers. But also the envelopes, if you're able to fill in the details on the back so that we can claim gift aid. If you'd like to ask for any further information by either email or post, or I have some contact forms at the back of the church, I'll be very happy to help you with any of those at the end of Mass. I leave you with the words of our founder, Father Verenfried. He set out to reach wherever the need is greatest, bringing spiritual and material aid to the poor, to the forgotten, to the persecuted faithful. He said, they are being tested in their faith, but we are being tested in our love.